With Kelley Reeves, Miss Defense, right?
How are you? That's right.
Good, welcome back.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit. So last time you were here, you were talking about your class that was coming up. And so tell me how that went.
It was great. It was actually oversold. So it means a lot of people in the Paso, Robles, and North County area want to get their concealed carry permit. So, and it was a great class. We had a representative from the Sheriff's Department there. We had Ian McKnight, who is the CCW instructor for the county, who you can actually get certified with. And yeah, it was a great class. There was a lot of interaction, a lot of great questions. So
Awesome.
I think there was a good takeaway that people learned. And some people learned that they didn't want their CCW after all, after going through the class.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, because I go into a lot of mindset stuff and the aftermath of a shooting and what you can expect with all of that. And I think people were like, well, maybe firearms isn't the way to go, which is absolutely fine. It's a really responsible decision. If someone comes to me and says, I don't think I want to use a firearm as a form of self-defense, what else do you have? Then I prefer that decision than somebody going into it with, without being comfortable and taking their very potentially deadly risks.
So somebody actually would take it, obviously uninformed, or they're coming to your class to gain more knowledge of it.
Right. Yeah.
And then they realize at the end of it, it's just not for them.
Yeah.
Because of what? Because of liabilities, because of just all the potential aftermath that could happen if they did?
Yeah. I mean, there's that. So like one gal in my class, she was explaining, I guess she had used her husband's shotgun like tons of times. And she went through the class and she realized she had a rattlesnake on her property. And she's like, I froze. I couldn't get my, I'd used this shotgun a million times. I couldn't get it to work. I didn't know what was going on. And so there's that blackout mode that you go into in that stress. So I was like, so basically you were threatened with bodily harm, i.e. a rattlesnake, and you froze. So you had your fight, flight, or freeze responses. So now you know that you're going to freeze potentially. And she's like, yeah, so I don't think a firearm would be good in that case. So it's something like that. So, or just understanding the aftermath of a self-defense shooting. God forbid you have to ever be involved in one. So some people just realize it's not for them. So it takes a lot of work, a lot of education, a lot of training, like constant. It's not like a hobby. It's not something that you do just for fun. It's very serious responsibility. And I appreciate when people go through my class and they realize what a big responsibility they're taking on.
And so, you were mentioning before, I mean, obviously, Miss Defense, women kind of focused, geared, but you had obviously men at the class. So did you have more women ratio to men in the class?
Yeah, the first class was slightly more women. Every subsequent class has been mostly women.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because that's really where your focus is at.
Yeah.
For the women to kind of feel a little bit more, the knowledge and having that protection and knowledge of what is needed or not. You know? So with the women that, come to you and said, hey, I don't feel comfortable, pursuing this idea, but now you have other products now that you're doing that gives them an alternative to a firearm.
Yeah.
And what is that?
So I'm selling it's damsel in defense products, and they have stun devices, pepper spray, striking devices, concealment purses, if you do have a concealed carry. So it's alternatives to self-defense if you're not comfortable with a firearm. And so I have those products. And then there's also the digital defense, which is the cybersecurity side of it. So if people aren't comfortable with a firearm, then there's other alternatives. And then there's the self-situation awareness, the avoidance, the de-escalation techniques that I also like to teach.
So cyber security. So tell me, what is that?
So I am a cybersecurity expert. So I write for cybersecurity companies every day. So that's kind of my day job as a copywriter. And
so are you thinking like Norton? Like Norton's cybersecurity?
Yeah, well, I don't write for Norton, but similar companies. So I do more of the enterprise B2B cybersecurity, but there is the consumer component that, of course, I really understand. And that is, keeping your children safe online, especially on social media, sexual predators are out there. How do you avoid that? How do you prevent viruses from getting into your computers or getting hacked? So, and I see this all the time. You'll get a note on Facebook that from, it looks like a friend, like, look at this video I found of you. And it turns out their account was hacked, and that's the hacker attempting to get into you, but you believe that it's your friend. So you click on the link, think about this, oh, this picture, human curiosity. And next thing you know, you're hacked. So it's really kind of education of, one, how to prevent consumer hacking into your personal devices, or if you have a small to medium-sized business. So
interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's happening like daily.
All the time.
I mean, I get things like daily that I go, somebody gives me a message, hey, they want to be my friend. I already know they're my friend.
Right.
And, so how does that happen?
Well, hackers, they're pretty clever with the way they'll go about it. They're taking advantage of your trust. So for example, I have the nonprofit Animal Rescue, and I was doing a Facebook fundraiser, and someone took my exact Facebook photo and my name, created a whole new account, and started messaging all the people that were donating to my fundraiser, acting like me, saying, hey, we're collecting Amazon gift cards for our fosters and to get food and stuff. But it was so poorly written, and people will know I'm a copywriter and I'm such a grammar Nazi, that they emailed me. They're like, oh, we know you didn't write this. So I had to go into Facebook and file the complaint and report the people. And it took a couple days, but,
Really?
but yeah. And I had to do a whole announcement. Like, if you get a message from me asking for an Amazon gift card, delete it, report it. It's not me. So people are clever. Yeah. Or if you'll get a text that will say, hey, your credit card on your Amazon account needs to be updated.
Right. I've gotten those.
Yeah. So that's somebody that got your number and that is sending. Or they'll do what was called ransomware, where they'll send an email saying, oh, we've got these naughty videos of you. If you don't give us X amount of money in Bitcoin, then we're going to expose it. I'm like, okay, well, I know you don't have naughty videos.
Who cares, right?
And fine, if you do, whatever.
Right.
So
it's so funny because it's like these guys, like, right when they say good day.
Yeah.
I mean, this is fake.
Right.
I mean, there's your giveaway.
Yeah. And they're usually not in the US.
Yeah, but some people do fall victim to these.
They do, yeah, and billions. So there was, I think I saw. Well, I actually wrote an article on a gal. She hired me to help her write press release an article, because she released this book called Scam, and it's all about scamming and cyber scams. And so I think it was like $25 billion consumers lose every year in cyber attacks. So that's another part of the self-defense, is also cyber defense, because you can't not only be attacked on the streets or in life, but also when you're on your computer. And if they steal your credit card information, your bank information, your identity, then they can really wreck your life. So
that sounds like a whole class on its own. For like almost like, I mean, I used to think it's, the elderly, kind of a little bit more,
not savvy.
Yeah. But I mean, it really happens to, anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, just because, especially now everybody using the technology, for everything, and everybody has Amazon,
right?
Because I've gotten a couple of those messages before. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, wait a minute. So then I start digging a little bit more, and then there's certain things that will give it away, but I mean, they're getting more clever to how they could hack into you. And again, with technology and me, those are two, like, there's this big gap between. I just don't understand it, because like when you try to go and start up your own Facebook or something like that, I mean, you have to go through all these hoops. Oh, you can't start this because you already have an account. It's like, how do these guys do it? It's like, so they must have like a backdoor way to hack you.
Yeah, well, they're pretty clever, and they're obviously very tech savvy, and they know how to get around the algorithms and the codes. And so
that's crazy.
So so I always tell people, and they know how to like spoof legitimate looking accounts. So with, say, Facebook Marketplace, for example, like, I'm selling a couple like old office equipment right now, and I'll get messages saying, oh, I'll go ahead and buy this, sight unseen. My husband or wife will meet you wherever to pick it up. Just send me your Venmo or your Cash App. Well,
Cash App.
So what they do is, you're like, okay, you send them your Venmo email address or phone number, And then they completely spoof Venmo. So it looks like a legitimate email from Venmo saying, oh, we had to create a business account since you're selling something. And the buyer, the alleged buyer, goes to you and says, hey, I know there's that $200 charge. I paid it for you just to make it easy. And then just, reimburse me. So
I heard about that.
So yeah. So you have to I always say if it's something that looks suspicious, you can go check the email address if it's not specific to at Venmo.com, because it'll usually have, some crazy domain name that is not even related to Venmo, or they'll throw Venmo in there somewhere. So you just have to be super aware and hyper cautious, just like you do on the streets. Just have to be aware of your surroundings and what's going on. Is the same thing with the internet. Yeah.
So the last time you were here, we talked about how you got into the whole gun part of it, because you're, kind of raised with it, with the family. So, but how do you get into the whole cyber security stuff? How did you get into that?
Well, I had a tech PR company for 20 years. And I worked with a lot of security related companies like network storage devices and security software companies. So it was kind of like a transition, because I've just been in the tech space for a long time. And then I started getting more and more copywriting gigs in the cybersecurity space. And then when, the self-defense stuff came up and I started working with Damsel in Defense, they have their digital defense. And so it was kind of like a natural progression of self-defense online and off. So.
And so Damsel in Defense is another company of yours?
That's the brand that makes the self-defense products.
Gotcha.
So I'm an affiliate of theirs.
Okay, so you got the CCW, you got the cybersecurity, you got the Damsel in Defense, and you got Paw Prints in the Sand. I mean, you got a whole. I mean, how do you sleep?
Yeah.
I mean, jeez.
I do sleep.
Oh my gosh! And you have to have time for wine. I mean, it's just like, what is going on?
Wine and life. Yeah, it's all about time management, and just like we were saying earlier, it's just knowing that you're not going to get it all right. You're not going to get it all done. So how do you, for me, sparse out my day to what's the priority? What can I get done today? What can wait? And what can I just let go of?
And you're a editor for
Authority Magazine.
And so tell me about that.
So I started out as a copy editor. So Authority Magazine, it's an Arianna Huffington publication under her Thrive Global network. And so I've known the editor-in-chief for a few years, and I reached out to him and I said, hey, do you need a copy editor? Because I would read some of the interviews that he posts. And of course, I'm always okay, there's a typo, there's a grammar.
Oh, you're one of those.
Little minor things. But so I reached out and he said, of course, we'd love to have you. And then when I moved up here and I started meeting a lot of women in the wine industry. And so I pitched them the idea about what about, women leading in the wine and spirits industry. So we've got a lot of women in Napa, East Coast, in France, Italy. So I'm just well, where are Paso ladies? So we did get one interview in from one of the Paso wineries. And then Friday, I'm interviewing Lauren Raba over at Raba Wines. And so yeah, and there's been a couple that they've turned in the interviews. So hopefully we'll get some more Paso wine ladies representing in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're just not somebody just teaching classes. I mean, you have this list of, qualifications and you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you're not just, hey, guess what? I'm just going to charge people to come in and, do this. I mean, you literally know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so what do you do for fun? What's the fun part of
What's the fun part? Well, I'm blessed with a lot of friends up here. So, I have a nice social life. I get involved in the community. So later today, I'm going to a lunch for the National Women's Federation Republican, where Kenny Annie is speaking. And I'm a big supporter of his and what he's trying to do with the reform in school and cyberspace. So I guess that's kind of fun in business, but
awesome.
But I like to go out and explore Monday, or was it last? Yeah, it was last Monday, President's Day. Decided to take the day off. One of my friends was in town with her 4 daughters. They're all teenagers. And I'm like, well, why don't I take them out to go see the elephant seals? So mom got a break from 4 teenagers and I got to take them out to see the elephant seals. So, I'll come out and go sightseeing. And kind of one of my big things is like if I'm starting to feel overwhelmed with all the stuff there is to do, I'll just get my car and start driving because it's just such beautiful country around here. And that's kind of like where I like allow myself to breathe and kind of have a little mental break. So
you kind of get it when you get on the road, you're obviously driving, so you're not texting. So you have time to just kind of your brain is just going a million miles an hour, or turn the music on. But I find myself just kind of just like going through all these, and it's almost that time where you can, really reflect and come up with some good ideas and some stuff to do.
It's pretty therapeutic, especially out here. It's just so beautiful. And like, I'll stop and take photos. And, I love pictures of like landscapes and all the old barns around here. And so, or the cows or whatever. So, so that's kind of like my little therapy, is just to get out and take a drive. Not the most with gas prices.
I know, right? You need an electric car or something.
It's not the cheapest like therapy, but
very cool.
It helps, yeah.
So tell me about what you have coming up. So you have some classes coming up here in the next few weeks. So tell me a little bit about that.
So I have a pre-CCW class this coming Saturday at the Heavenly Home in Pasco from 10 to noon. And then I have another one coming up on the 11th, March 11th, at the Republican headquarters in Atascadero.
Okay.
So, and then I will hopefully have my final firearm certification by the beginning of April, and then I'll actually be teaching firearms, which is good because there's a lot of women that have been in my class that don't even have a firearm. Like, I don't even have one, let alone know how to use it. So when I get one, can you teach me? And of course, yes. And some have asked, can you help me pick one out? And so, but having a firearm is a very personal thing. So I can't say mine is good for you and vice versa, because people are like, oh, try this one. And I always say, well, go down to the range, go to Range Masters where you can rent, and SLO where you can rent, whatever firearm, and pick the one that's most comfortable. Because especially if you're using it for concealed carry, you want the firearm that feels more comfortably, what you're comfortable using. Don't just get one because your friend has it unless you're really comfortable using it. I probably tried about 10 firearms before I chose my concealed one.
And so when you are finally certified, you're going to have classes that are going to be out at the range trying these different devices?
I don't know if I will have a bunch of different firearms. I would prefer that they have their own firearm that I teach them with, because that's what they're going to use. But if they're not sure what they want to get, then I would say we'll probably go somewhere where we can rent different firearms and they can try them. Like try before you buy.
And that would be like probably the couple different ranges, the indoor ranges
that have the
different firearms that you can
rent,
that you can try out and test and stuff like that. Well, great. So how does somebody get a hold of you?
So you can go to my website, MsDefenseCCW.com. It's right there.
Perfect. Yep.
So, or I'm on Facebook, Ms. Defense. I'm on Instagram, Ms. Defense CCW. So
awesome. Yeah. And they can follow you as well.
Yep.
For, I know you do a lot of posts of defense, stuff that pertains to informational, safety.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to do a lot more video content that, kind of guides people through whatever information is out there, with self-defense and what that means, and CCW and what that means, and cyber defense, what that means. So just to kind of really inform and educate my audience. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Kelley, thank you so much.
Thank
really
you again.
Appreciate it.
Great seeing you.
Yeah, great information. And like I said, I got to get to one of those classes.
Yeah, you do.
So, well, there you have it, guys. I want to thank Kelley for coming in and telling us about all the safety things that we can do for women and men in the North County. But guys, we can't do this without you and your support. And we want to thank our sponsors, Escalar Wines, Wine Travelers Hideaway, Rancho Sestero Meat Cutting, Amber with Pillar Real Estate, 805 Customs, Amy and Jamie's Place, Airflow Filter Services, and Kennedy Club Fitness, guys. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.